Skirk is finally here. We've been waiting for her since reading Child's voice lines, but we don't need to wait any longer. You also don't need to wait any longer for me to make a Discord. I've finally made one and I put the link in the description if you want to flex your Skirk build. Onto her teams, but with a quick disclaimer. She does want a Scoffia in her teams, but we will look at a Scoffia alternatives because not everyone has her. Skirk's also quite restrictive with her passives, but we will experiment and look outside of freeze teams. I don't recommend using the non-freeze teams, but I thought I'd look at them anyway and discuss how they could be improved in the future because I find it fun looking outside of intended playstyles. Surprise, surprise, a Scoffia is the first sustain unit we'll pair with Skirk. There are alternatives which we'll look at, but they will all be downgrades. Just a reminder, she will benefit most from full Cryo and Hydro teams due to her passive. Because of this, we got Farina in there. She's going to provide the team with an extra damage dealer, she'll buff Skirk with a fanfare, and she'll even enable Skirk to hold 4-piece Marechaussee. For the flex slots, I recommend Hydro so you can get the Hydro resonance for extra HP. Yolan's going to be a strong choice because she scales off HP too, provides the team with another damage dealer, and she's also buffing Skirk. Scoffia takes the last slot and she shreds both Cryo and Hydro resistance by 55%, heals everyone, and makes it so that the entire team is full of damage dealers. She also gives us the Cryo resonance for an extra 15% team-wide crit rate. In AoE situations against enemies that can be frozen, it's nice that this team has a lot of elemental application. In single target situations where enemies can't be frozen, every single one of these characters excels at single target, so it's a quite flexible team. If you don't have Yolan, you can use Dahlia for extra attack speed, and he also opens up the option to use Calamity of Ishu. There is of course the option to swap someone out, let's say one of the Hydro units, in favour of another Cryo support like Citlali or Shenhe. Citlali gives us 40% Cryo and Hydro damage from 4-piece scroll, as well as 20% Hydro shred for the Hydro unit. Shenhe gives the team a Cryo damage bonus from her skill and 15% shred from her burst. They both also help a Scoffia with her energy requirements. If I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely lean towards Shenhe because she's going to benefit both Skirk and a Scoffia. It also frees up Citlali for your other teams. Shenhe's a rare unit too, so it's nice to give her a bit of play when there's the opportunity. Now in terms of lore, Skirk is Child's master. She taught him everything he knows about combat when he fell into the abyss as a kid, so trying them together is a must for me. I like how the bursts are named Havoc Ruin and Havoc Obliteration because you're gonna create havoc when you ruin and obliterate your opponent's assholes. Child's biggest downside for me is the skill cooldown, so it's nice to have a team where it's not too much of an issue. Let's be honest, Child, Farina and Scoffia is such a powerful trio that it would work on its own if not for Child's skill cooldown. Skirk, Farina and Scoffia is an even stronger trio. Yo-yo in between Skirk and Child with 100% uptime on Farina and Scofia's skills could be my new favourite team. It's also nice that you'll be able to use a normal burst and see its animation a bit more in this team, which you won't be able to do much in teams where she's the only on-field DPS. Now I mentioned we'd look at a Scoffia alternatives even if they're downgrades. The best alternatives, realistically speaking, are Charlotte, who's going to give you a lot of fanfare stacks and can hold thrilling tales, and then there's Mika. I know you don't like Mika, but come on, he's a kid, let's not be too hard on him. With that said, Mika is a bit weird. Not the most outgoing kid. When he's in the presence of someone as intimidating as Skirk, he makes weird noises, which obviously gets people on edge. They start acting erratic, the movements are quicker than usual. That's bad news for enemies because it means Skirk's getting more hits in. With her driving off-field damage dealers like Xingqiu and Yolan, they'll also get more hits in. I like to give Mika 4-piece Noblesse, which is his medicine. That's what we tell people anyway. Sleeping pills. Helps to take the edge off. Mika's nervous around people and people are nervous around him too. It's uncomfortable, but if you don't have a Scoffia, it might be your best bet. You could even run Shalonen. You lose the extra skill level from Skirk's passive as well as normal and burst attack damage, but you gain 4-piece scroll and 36% shred on both Hydro and Cryo. You'd also get an extra 25.6% elemental damage if you have a weapon. I think Shalonen serves as a welcome reminder that while there is a gap between a Scoffia and her alternatives, Skirk isn't unusable without a Scoffia. Shalonen's the definition of the old reliable. She's a steady Eddie. Even in teams where she's not the best in slot, she is usually at least an 8 out of 10, and that's a useful character to have for situations like this where maybe you don't have the best in slot sustain unit. So sticking with a normal attack playstyle but looking outside of freeze, we have this quick swap mono cryo team. It's worth noting that not having hydro means no void rifts, which means short uptime on Skirk's infusion, but it's fine because it's a quick swap team. Chongyun reduces cooldowns, increases normal attack speed, shreds cryo resistance, and can hold 4-piece noblesse to give the team some much needed attack, cause, let's face it, how many of you would genuinely run in noblesse or tenacity on one of your supports? Yeah, didn't think so. You can also hold Wolf's Gravestone if you have it. Shenhe's press skill has a short cooldown too, so Skirk's infusion not lasting as long as it does in freeze teams isn't an issue. Looking outside of freeze teams opens up options for those that don't have a Scoffia. Pushing the boat out there a little further, we have this melt team. Skirk deals less damage and the team isn't as good as a premium freeze teams, but it's not leagues below it. With opponents constantly being affected by Pyro because of the burning aura, Lion's Roar is a solid option for those with no 5 stars. There are 3 damage dealers and it's nice to have a lot of attack because of Bennett. The biggest issue with this team isn't so much that Skirk isn't triggering the passives, it's more the lack of void rifts, so less infusion time. Not the end of the world, but it's worth noting that she doesn't perform as well in this team as Wriothesley would because of it. Watch out to Scoffia cause I'm going to be cooking for a minute. You could even try teams with Electro. Now, as mentioned at the start of the video, I don't recommend this, but I did want to see how good or bad Skirk is with Electro just for fun. Superconduct still creates rifts, so if you were running someone like Cookie on a full elemental mastery build with 4-piece tenacity, she's going to trigger Superconduct for a lot of damage and give you 20% attack. If you're lucky enough to have a copy of Freedom Swan, she'll give Skirk a further 20% attack and 16% normal attack damage. You can go with Shenhe for the cryo buffs and then one of Rosaria or Kaya in the last slot. Bear in mind, this will be very far off Skirk's ceiling. Superconduct got buffed in 5.2 though, so I'd like to think we will get Superconduct units at some point during Nodcry. This seems purely experimental and I think there are some ways they can improve it. First of all, swapping Rosaria out for a dedicated Superconduct version of Chevreuse would be cool. Also, a more niche Superconduct trigger to replace Cookie would be nice too. A dedicated Superconduct set would be the last piece of the puzzle. Now let's check out some teams where you play her in burst mode. Long story short, you'd use her in place of a support in any team with just cryo or hydro teammates. Nuvolette, Farina, Sea Lally, Escoffia for example. You can swap Sea Lally out for Skirk and play her as a burst DPS. Ayato will work in the same team too, and he'll benefit from the extra skill level more than Nuvolette. I didn't include Ayato footage because I don't have him, but it is nice that he's getting another couple teammates in 5.7, especially with Dahlia also giving some more attack speed. The Battle Pass sword, Wolfang, is good for Skirk's burst mode because it's giving it extra crit rate and burst damage. Just know it's not great with a normal attack playstyle. Wriothesley can be used in the same team, and Skirk would be a Shenhe alternative for anyone who doesn't have her. I've liked these past 2 patches for Wriothesley. I think he's one of the best designs in the game. My friend's got me into Arcane, and his massive fist reminds me of Vi, so I've always wanted to play him, but I'm not a big fan of the reverse melt setups being so reliant on elemental application. Escoffia and Skirk threw all that out the window, and now you can just have fun fisting the enemies. For a score, I'd give Skirk an 8.5 out of 10. She deals a lot of damage and I like the fact she has 2 different playstyles, but I don't like the fact she's so reliant on not only a team archetype with freeze, but specific units like Escoffia. She can work without her, but she's a lot better with her. Just a reminder, I've left a link to my Discord in the description, and over the next few weeks I'm going to pad out some of those lore and music channels with some interesting posts and videos. I practically live in Discord, so if you do too and want to be part of the community, join us over there and take it easy.